Contemporary art, in many ways, is a field that is defined precisely by its boundlessness, an endless or endlessly expanding proliferation of possibilities in terms of materials, styles, techniques, but also conceptually in terms of what an artist can do and how the category of art is even understood. Barnett Newman was a groundbreaking figure. He was an abstract artist in the truest sense, but he was also deeply committed to the ideals of artists being independent and free to pursue their ideas, no matter how radical or new.
Thanks to the vision of Claudia Gould, the Jewish Museum's Helen Goldsmith Menschel director from 2011 to 2023, the Barnett and Annalee Newman Foundation offered the museum an unusual and extraordinary gift. Artworks from the Newman's personal collection, works created by the artist recipients of the Newman Foundation Award, and curatorial funds to further our study of contemporary art at the Jewish Museum.
This collection is kind of an idiosyncratic tour of art in the past 60 years, more or less a tour of art after Barnett Newman. It's definitely a tribute to Newman's spirit, and taken together, these works enrich the story of contemporary art that we can tell here at the Jewish Museum.
Barnett Newman was born in 1905 in New York City to a Polish Jewish immigrant family, and of course went on to become a major modernist artist. His paintings are best known for what he termed the zip, a vertical stripe that interrupts solid fields of color, creating a moment of intensity, but also visually a place for the eye to fall and rest, a place for contemplation and curiosity. Newman was interested in the idea of pure abstraction and considered the creation of a painting to be an almost sacred act. He was also a generous supporter of his community, befriending and mentoring many artists over the course of his career.
Newman met Annalee Greenhouse when they were both working as substitute teachers in Queens, and they got married in 1936. And eventually, Annalee had gotten to a point in her own career, first as a teacher and then as a school administrator, where it was possible for her to financially support the household. And she did that because she really believed in Newman's art. She believed that he had an important contribution to make to the art of their time. Barnett Newman died in 1970 at the age of 65. In addition to placing his work in the most significant museum collections around the world, Annalee also wanted to carry forward their shared belief in the importance of supporting artists. In that spirit, she established the Barnett and Annalee Newman Foundation to give unrestricted grants to artists who shared Newman's seriousness of purpose and his commitment to exploring the outer limits of his own ideas. Newman's work, The Wild, from 1950, was sort of the ultimate zip, a radical distillation of Newman's signature motif that stripped away much of the canvas surrounding this structuring compositional element. This exhibition of works by artists who received awards from the Barnett and Annalee Newman Foundation takes The Wild as a kind of emblem, as a work exemplifying what Newman called a true act of discovery, with new forms and symbols that will have the living quality of creation. So this piece is by Sam Gilliam. It's the earliest piece in the collection and the earliest piece in the show, made in 1963. And as you can see, it's a hard edge abstraction. It's interesting to note that Gilliam was only a few years away from the draped canvases, which of course became his most iconic and best known works. So on the one hand, it's kind of classically Newman-esque, and on the other hand, of course, it presages a whole different development and a direction for Gilliam's work and indeed for the whole movement of 20th century art going forward.
Joan Jonas is a foundational figure in terms of the mediums of performance and video. She was actually trained as a sculptor, and this work is a representation of her return to sculpture. She's somebody who has certainly contended with the legacies of the art histories that came before her that are present in this very room. And then she's also somebody who has always been tuned in with the future of art, and that infuses her work with such a kind of liveliness and freshness as she continues to work today.
This is a piece by Linda Benglis called Figure 6. Benglis was such a great artist to be able to include in the show and in this collection because she had a direct personal relationship to Barnett Newman and cites him as someone who was really a formative influence at a kind of critical stage of her career. So you can think about the mid to late 60s as a time where performative gesture, kind of the idea of process being visible and present in the final artwork, was really kind of coming to the fore, and Venglis was absolutely a central exponent of that kind of art making. There's really this sense that this is arrested motion.
The Jewish Museum is a very particular place in that we are a culturally specific institution. We typically collect works by Jewish artists or works that reflect the Jewish experience in some way. And while Newman himself was Jewish, it was quite unique for us to acquire this collection of works by the Newman Foundation Award grantees, some of whom are Jewish, but some of whom are not. Of course, Jewish artists were not and are not working in a vacuum. They're in conversation across cultural and religious lines, across racial lines, across generational lines. So, like Newman's Zip, this collection could be seen as an important interjection within our holdings, one that can help move discourse forward as we continue to take an expansive view of how to consider Jewish culture by examining the kinds of artists and ideas with which it collides.